that Dwight Scarborough.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, my name is Gene Bray and I reside in Meridian. You will have a copy of my testimony and my CV. I graduated from Boise High. I was a U.S. regular Navy midshipman in the class of 49, four midshipmen from Idaho. I spent time in submarine service and then followed by a 31-year stint with IBM. I relocated from Tokyo, where I was working at the time, and came back and have been involved in human rights issues ever since. And as a sideline, pro bono computer networking for nonprofits. I even wrote with Gary Allen the network architectural standards for the Boise School District. And my classmates and I put the first science network in place in it was the second one in the Northwest. The first one was in Washington. And so that was called the Larry Jackson Memorial Science Network. At 80 years of age, I have been active and in solidarity with the Occupy Boise movement. And on the weekend of November 5th, I used my electrical savvy in the activity to safely and economically distribute the 2,500 watts of power made available by the Department of Administration at the north end of the building to the Occupy vigil on the south lawn. This was highly unusual because it was a great distance from that we had to move the power. And it involved about 400 feet of outdoor rated electrical cable and fittings, GFC devices, and about 200 feet of secondary wiring. And so generally you don't put extension cords together, and that forced us to severely limit the kind of devices that we had. So for lighting, we just used LEDs and compact fluorescents with two exceptions. One was the light for the flag, and then the second was a fluorescent tube over the cooktop in the kitchen. And so what it boiled down to, we had a load that was about 500 watts to empower that entire encampment. In the big tents, we had 18 watts power. And so so we were able to keep the voltages proper because we were very, very frugal in terms of the load. Unfortunately, this token support abruptly stopped at 8 a.m. on Monday, January 23rd. Occupy didn't trip that breaker in the building. We couldn't get to it. It was ordered to be turned off.
Mr. Bray, could you try to wrap up? We're running out of time.
Yes, sir. I think that I believe we have a right, indeed a responsibility, to be heard, peaceably seek redress regarding growing inequities in our society, both politically, socially, and economically. House Bill 404, as written, is regressive, revisionist, and attempts to regulate our protected First Amendment rights to the back of the bus.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions from the committee? Thank you. Senator Dick.
Gene.
Yes.
If we provide as a state electricity from the Capitol on the front steps for people to broadcast their message for a few moments or a few hours to a traditional group of either association or protesters, the state has not been troubled by that. But if in the exercise of one's speech rights, whether they be free or free subject to regulation, should the state of Idaho then similarly provide electricity for more than a few hours, but instead for days and months and weeks at the expense of taxpayers? I think you pose an interesting question. Would you just take a minute and focus on just that for me?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Davis, I'm glad you asked that question because the power use that we incurred amounted to about $1 a day in that facility. And the power used was equivalent to 1/2 of a hairdryer, handheld hairdryer that are usually rated at either 1,200 or 1,500 watts. And so when we talk about the expense, considering that this movement is trying to exercise First Amendment rights, I think that the cost to the state of $1 a day is chicken feed. It's not. It's minuscule compared to, you've got 2,000 watt light bulbs over there on the flag that are dwarf any power that we used or will use. And we actually put in 180 watts of solar panel over there, so we could even have our load reduced more than that. And I think this is a very, very minor issue in my
Chairman, I apologize. I didn't do a good job of my question. Can I take another round at it? I can see how, with the wording I used, you jumped to the answer that you did by talking about days and weeks and even months, and so that you felt like it was a question of cost. My question is really trying to focus on whether, if we believe it's appropriate as a state to allow the use of electricity on the Capitol for people to express their speech, if the speech that we see south of the Ada County Courthouse on the grounds, aren't we doing the same thing by providing that electricity for that speech to occur? I thought it was a more friendly question than your answer might initially have suggested.
Mr. Chairman and Senator Davis, I misinterpreted your focus, and I agree with you. It's just another way of recognizing and assisting citizens and orderly groups into getting their message out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dwight Scarborough, and then after that, Alan Anderson.